Alrighty, guys, welcome to the first chat with the Brewer Live. We're here live from Wooden Legs Brewing Company in Brookings, South Dakota. It is no travel advised. It is snowing out. It is four-wheel drive only weather, but we don't care because we don't need permission to drink beer or hang out. We have a couple folks in here with us at the pub drinking the beers, but maybe more importantly, we've got our first guest on. We've got Rob from Sick and Twisted all the way out in the Black Hills in Hill City. Rob, cheers. Thanks for joining us. I think.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, I think the internet's working even besides the cold. Why don't you start, Rob? And I'm gonna drink one of the porter you sent over. I think we've got the double IPA as well. What I'd like to know is just more about Sick and Twisted. I think you guys are relatively new at this, just like we are. If you can see my shirt, it fits the equation. Drink beer from here. You guys are. If my square is correct, you guys are somewhere over here.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we started Sick and Twisted in 2012. My wife owns Naked Winery in Hill City, and we always serve beer. Always try to serve local beer as much as we can. I've been a home brewer for about 10 years. And we decided to start brewing our own beer. Well, we started on basically a little Sabco system, very small system, and we've now went to a 3-barrel system and are in the process of installing a 20-barrel system. So we're hoping to get into some canning, and hopefully we can get some of our product out there on the shelves for you guys to get easier.
And absolutely, we actually have some of your product here. I think the first time we carried it at the pub was for Hobo Day this year. We did a project that had all South Dakota craft beers, and we appreciate you guys' participation in that. Now, you said you're going up to a 20-barrel system. You guys aren't that old. 2 or 3 years? How old is Sick and Twisted?
October of 2012. So we're just a little bit over 2 years, 2 years and a couple months. And the demand's been pretty good for us as far as the keg beer goes, but it's real hard to keep up with the little system that we have. So we hopefully have that in operation no later than June of this year.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Is that so? I'm sure you guys see a busy season pretty often out there. The Black Hills seems that if it was tourist season, you'd be busy. Do you guys see a lot of business in the off season as well, or is that kind of your catch-up time?
Definitely catch up. It's been busy right now up until the holidays. The holidays are big because family comes into the hills and visits people. Naturally, probably happens out there. The same for you guys. But we definitely slow down. I mean, dramatically slow down. And we do about 70% of our business between May and October. So moving up to the system and getting some bottled or canned beer out there in the world, I think will help us through this time.
That's pretty interesting because over here in Brookings we see about the inverse. Our summer season is the slow seasons, our catch-up season, and things get really kind of hectic once the Jackrabbits come back to town. So you said
sure.
You guys got into brewing starting on the Sabco, and you've been brewing for a number of years then on that, and kind of perfecting the recipes, or was that just for private and personal tastings, or how'd you go about putting the beers together that you're serving now?
No, that was real private and fun, and there's about 4 of us that did it and invested into a little Sabco, and that was I think the unit's probably 8 years old now, and we still brew on it to this day. We still do experimental batches. We just did a cinnamon beer today on it, as a matter of fact. Kind of a fun thing. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we kind of like Fireball whiskey. We kind of got the idea of drinking that one night, thinking, let's try to make a beer that's similar to that.
I don't know if I've kept every idea that I've drank or thought of drinking Fireball whiskey. I think there's been a number of those ideas that we've probably had to throw in the waste paper in the basket the next morning. Well, tell me a little bit about your flagships. I think when you came, when we had your beers out here, we've got 2 on tap right now. Your double IPA and your porter, which I'm drinking, both very good. There was a series of beers that came out though in October when we did our project. Which ones do you guys sell a lot of? What are your favorites? Just let us know a little bit more about the Sick and Twisted beers.
Well, the 4 beers that we hold, that we keep as distributing beers is their Wild Ride Wheat, which is a wheat beer, and then we have a Redhead. We call it the Naughty Redhead, and she's a little malty. She's an Imperial also, 8%, pretty high IBUs. Then we have the porter that you're drinking, and along with the double IPA. There are 4 mainstay beers that we make and produce all the time. We carry over 14 beers on tap at all times in the tap house. Very small batches on some of them. you know, one of the ones that's really become popular is our chili beer. We call it the Hot Mama. It's a red beer with Hatch's green chili. Really nice, not too much fire on the end. And the other one that seemed to go real well this winter was was a Mexican coffee stout. We started with a milk stout, one of our standard milk stout we call Sicker Than Others, and we added some cold pressed coffee along with Hatch's green chili, vanilla bean, some cinnamon, and it's more like a Mexican coffee. That was a fun beer to produce. The summertime we had seasonal, which was a peach wheat beer. That was real popular. We had that. I don't know if that made it out to you on your hobo days or not, but that we do produce that in the summertime for distribution. And the chili ale is also out now for distribution. But the four mainstays are our wheat, our red, the porter, and our IPA. You know, we're always developing new beers, as I'm sure you do, and playing around with this and that. And, you know, a lot of them should probably went in the trash before we did them. But sometimes with that little system, it's awful tempting just to throw a batch together. So it's kind of fun.
That's half the fun. People ask us if we make seasonal beers, and I said we've never made a seasonal beer. We make whimsical beers. We make beers that we happen to make up today. But maybe nothing on the season. So we've got those four beers, and you said you started distribution out here. It's all in draft form right now, I believe, and you said cans in the future. Who's your distributor out here, and how'd you kind of go through that, and how are you looking to expand? Are you looking to put more draft lines on, or kind of what's your goal here for the Eastern South Dakota?
Well, John Brothers did a good job promoting us out there. Draft lines are our #1 choice. We do have 22-ounce bombers still at this point with those four beers, along with the chili beer, the red chili that we have, the Hot Mama. And that is available out there now. Johnson Brothers did pick up some of that. In fact, he just placed another order. I know that it's in Hy-Vee at certain places for growler fills. I don't know which Hy-Vees or where they're located at. It's been a pretty new, actually they weren't going to start until the 1st of this year, and Tim Starr from Johnson Brothers got excited about it and got it in there. I think the first order was December 12th of last year, so less than a month ago. So, you know, we have allocated X amount of beer at this time with the systems that we have for East River. And that's basically about 25 barrels of beer a month is what's allocated for that area. So they're under a fine guideline on how much they can put out, because I don't want to have somebody or pub put my beer on there and then can't get it because we can't produce enough. So we'll see how that all works out, but that's the initial until we get the larger system going. Then hopefully we can allocate a little more.
That sounds like a good plan. We use Johnson Brothers as well, and they've done a real good job building the market out here for craft beer. I think we know a lot about the beer scene on the I-29 corridor here. What can you tell us about beer in the Black Hills? It seems like there's always new breweries coming about, and it just seems that there's always crazy new ideas. The culture seems to be growing out there in the Black Hills.
Yeah, it's wonderful. You know, we're getting just right down the street from this, we have Minor Brewery. They're doing a nice job. And of course, I think the more the merrier. I think, you know, I came from Colorado, so, you know, I don't think you can have too many breweries, and that might be living proof you can't. We always like to go see other breweries, but we got Bitter Estes over in Custer. We have myself, and we have Miners, and we're all kind of in the southern hills. Dakota Shivers is, I think, up and running in lead, or at least they're getting close to. And Firehouse, of course, has been here for a long time. And then of course, Crow Peak up in Spearfish, who's probably the largest of us microbreweries out here. They do a fantastic job. Jeff and Josh have become good advocates, and we talk a lot. And then they have what is it? Knuckle Saloon has just opened up. And then the Hay Camp boys. Hay Camp opened up downtown. They just upped their system to some 3-barrel fermenters, so maybe they'll be open more than one day a week. But they couldn't keep up quite the other way. So, but it's really going, and I really hope that more of them come through, and I hope that I know there's about 3 or 4 other ones that are talking or maybe starting around the area, and I welcome with open arms. That's for sure.
So it sounds like things are alive and well in the Black Hills. I can attest to that. I've been out there a couple times, and it just seems that there's always something new and cool going on. What I will say is the Black Hills crew, the Black Hills breweries, have a much deeper love for hops than I even thought that they did. I think it's crazy. We always kind of have the kid between the East River and West River, but I think there is truly some value in the geography. Is that it seems like a lot of the Black Hills beer are really West Coast inspired. We have your double IPA on tap, and that tastes like it could come straight out of San Diego.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the crowd that we get and a lot of our tourists, are expecting and looking for that. That's for sure. I mean, we want to build beers that the public wants, and for sure. The IPAs naturally is a strong one that comes in. We got a lot of tourists that come up from Colorado, a lot from Minnesota, but a lot of the Minnesota breweries are stepping their game up pretty dang strong too, and have a lot of hops and bigger profiles and bigger beers. And I think it's what the public is asking for. I think is one of the main reasons we do it here, because we're so tourist driven. As you might be the jackrabbit driven more school around there, and I think that probably affects what type of beers you make. I mean, you want to make the beer that your customer wants to drink, and I think that's one of the reasons that you'll see the Black Hills beers be a little maybe more hoppier, just because of that.
I definitely agree with that. The other thing that we've seen, and you and I talked about this just the other day, is we've seen a huge trend in ciders and craft ciders and hard ciders in our area. Sade Vineyard just up the road, we've been working with them to do a cider project. We've always, they're right over my shoulder here, these taps have always had cider on them. There's 3 taps right over my shoulder that they've never had anything but cider on since we've opened. Do you guys see that? And I suppose you guys have a lot of wineries in your area as well, but do you see craft cider as kind of the next extension of brewing in South Dakota?
Well, I mean, it's definitely popular. It needs to be on, as we discussed before. I keep on Angry Orchard, and I bring in a different cider. In summer, I'll have 2 ciders on at all times. I think it is a growing market that belongs in the craft breweries. Again, to please everybody's palate, or at least as many people as we can. Yeah, the cider beer is something that I think that we definitely all should look at, and I think that we do have that fruit that's produced here in South Dakota that we could actually make that real well. So I'm excited to hear you're investigating that a little bit, and I can't wait to find out more.
I think there's a lot of cool things that they're kind of waiting to pop open here in South Dakota. I know people are working on the malts. The guys down in Sioux Falls are working on the yeast. There's a number of individuals growing hops. I think we're probably nearing a tipping point where we can finally, maybe one day, do a completely South Dakota beer grown in this state. So I think that would be the next cool goal. Maybe all the breweries could do their own South Dakota release beer or something. How do you, and this is kind of a follow-up question to what we talked about earlier, how do you reach out to your customers? You have a lot of tourists there, and I'd imagine there's a certain number of people that, while on vacation, obviously look up the brewery and look up a place to, a place to have a pint. But how do you reach out to your customers? How do you let them know that what you do is different there and get the beers into their hands?
Well, that's good. I mean, we have a pretty big Facebook following. I mean, that sure helps. Between the website and just be listed on as many places as we can electronically, naturally, I think that's the big key. We do billboard advertising. We're in the South Dakota Travel Tourist magazines. But billboards are probably our number one thing that brings people in. Then, of course, we are located between Mount Redmore and Hill City, and we're right on the highway. So pretty hard to miss us coming by with the big old sign that says brewery on the side of the building. So it's probably drive by could be our biggest influence, and that's just because we have over 4,000 cars that drive by the front of this building every day in the summer. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest key. And then word of mouth. You know, people come in, they have fun, they enjoy the beer, and then, of course, everybody comes to visit somebody in South Dakota, comes to Rapid or wherever, and they know about us. So word of mouth is another really huge aspect. Take care of your customers, give them the product they want, make sure they have a good time.
We've done a couple. I've done a couple interviews, and I always seem to be asked. People ask our brewery, and I think they like to relish in the catastrophe of it. We always get asked, "What was your brewery's biggest catastrophe? Like, what was the one thing that you just shook your hand in the air and said, this was a failure?" And by the way, cheers. This is your double IPA. This is very good.
Thank you. You know, probably one of our biggest obstacles, catastrophes. I mean, I've had many beers that are catastrophes, that's for sure, especially doing them on little pilot systems. But, you know, it's a funny thing about that catastrophe. I could give that away to people, and I go, "Hey, is that a good beer? Oh, that's a great beer. Hey, will you give me $5 for that pint?" No way. Then you know it's a catastrophe. But the other thing is the biggest thing we had was water. We're right along the creek in the Spring Creek watershed, and disposing of the called wastewater that comes in a brewery, as you know well, it takes about 7 times the amount of water as it does to produce the beer. You know, so getting rid of that water in a rural setting like we're at has been very challenging, and you know, we finally got that figured out on how to do it and take care of it with tanks and filtering and distributing it back into the ground. It has been challenging, but yet really rewarding that we got it done and be able to stay here in the hills and not have to move into a city environment and kind of become that destination place to come see.
Well, excellent. Speaking of destination, we're about out of time here, but I do want to hear about how anybody that's watching can find you, but also your events that you have coming up, whether it be this summer or in the next couple months. And I think everybody's here is interested to hear about the next beers. It seems that everybody likes the beers they have out now, but they always like the next one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, real quick, the summertime, we have got a watermelon beer we're going to be putting out. Came out really nice. We've made a couple pilot batches of it. So we're looking forward to that to be our springtime release. You know, midsummer, we'll probably do a pomegranate one, and then we'll probably fall back into spruce tips. A couple events we have quickly is we have a spruce tip picking event where we go out and pick the spruce tips in the beginning of the spring, and then we vacuum pack them and freeze them so we can make a spruce tip beer, which we have on tap now, usually until March. As far as other events come, I know.
We might have lost him. I think we lost you, Rob. You still there, Rob?
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, you're there. The internet's freezing. It's finally gotten cold enough in Brookings to actually kill the internet. That's okay. Our time is almost up. 2 things. Let us know where we can find you. And the last thing I'm going to ask all of the brewers here, if you've got other brewers, other people watching this video and are ready to start their own brewery, what advice would you give them?
Well, you know, first of all, follow your dream. If you want to do it, I just say do it. It's a lot of fun. Expect not to make very much money, but do enjoy doing dishes, because that's basically what we are. We're a glorified dishwasher. Cleanliness is next to godliness, that's for sure. And then you want to find us, you know, you just look us up, Sick and Twisted, the letter N in between Twisted, sickandtwisted.com. You can find us and all the information on what beers we have on tap there.
Well, Rob, we thank you for the 20 minutes you spent with us today. We cheers to your beer. Thank you for promoting beer in the state of South Dakota, and we'll keep you on tap as long as we can keep getting it out here.
All right.
We'll put this video up online so that maybe someday in the future we can look back at this and say, weren't we young and silly at that time? Maybe that's next week. Who knows?
All right, Seth. Thanks. You take care and enjoy.
Cheers, Rob. We'll send you some snow your way.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.